So you can catch the live stream, post the comments, and please click subscribe so you don't miss out on future streams of the shows across the station. Good morning, Rotus. Happy back to work day.
Yes, well, we've already been at work, so good morning and welcome back to everybody back to the office today.
All right. So we're talking about the IMF, World Bank urging Nigeria on targeted SME financing.
Yes, that is correct. They're talking to us a message to a number of developing economies about how this is the managing director of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, and the president of the World Bank, David Malpass, in Washington, D.C. at the ongoing World Bank IMF spring meetings. It just kicked off. We have a Nigerian delegation there. Zainab Ahmed, Minister of Finance, is there, along with a number of other members of President Buhari's economic team that are part of a large contingent of executives, public sector, finance people, central bank governors, and so on from around the world that are gathering in Washington, D.C. For the next few days.
All right. So what is this IMF World Bank spring meeting about, really?
So, it's holding from April the 10th until April the 16th in Washington. And basically, it brings together, like I said, central bankers, ministers of finance, developments, private sector executives to discuss issues of global concern. So that's what is going to be bringing them together. Issues of global concern. The war in Ukraine and so on and so forth, things like that.
So what's top of the agenda for this year?
Well, it's mostly about inflation is definitely going to be on the agenda. Debts for a number of low-income nations. I know they put out some press release yesterday or the day before talking about how they are going to try to reinvigorate reducing the debt burden, because the COVID pandemic caused a lot of countries like Ghana, for instance, to spend a lot of money to prop up their economies. And they ended up entering, a lot of them were already owing money to begin with. So the COVID shock caused a lot of countries to spend a lot of money. So debt is an issue there. They borrowed a lot. And so a lot of countries, low-income countries particularly, are facing debt pressure. Sri Lanka defaulted on its debt. I think Zambia also, this is Zimbabwe, one of the two defaulted on their own debt as well. Ghana did as well. So inflation is definitely on the agenda. Reducing debt, poverty eradication is also there as well. So those are I think the main things. The war in Ukraine, of course, I think they announced another 11, 12, 13, or is it $16 billion package for Ukraine, financing package. So those are the key issues. It's mainly the war, debt, inflation, and of course, poverty eradication and climate change. I know they're going to talk about climate change for sure, with respect to net zero policies around the world, and how countries can cut down on their, emissions, basically. So those are the top of the agenda for them.
So what is their message to low-income countries like Nigeria with regards to the SME financing?
Well, what they're saying is that they should target financing towards small, medium enterprises in order to keep them afloat. They're saying that by targeting particular financing to them, and this is financing that involves low interest rates, the ability to give these SMEs credit is a lifeblood for them. So, if you think about the issues that SMEs face in Nigeria, financing is at the top, funding is at the top of the list of priorities. And then you can go into other matters. So what they're saying is that, listen, focus your funding on these SMEs, give them the necessary boosts that they need with respect to their funding needs, and then also try and get them with respect to getting lower interest rates and the business environment that they're in. Try to get that shored up as well. But number one of the list is to get funding over to them.
We're talking about the IMF and World Bank urging Nigeria on targeted SME funding and financing, I beg your pardon. So if you have any questions or comments, you can send them through to us on WhatsApp. The number is 0809 444 0981. You can also tweet at smooth981 as well. And catch the live stream up on our YouTube channel. Rotus, has Nigeria carried out targeted financing for SMEs, and has it worked?
Yeah, I mean, the central bank has been particular about funding different sectors. During COVID, the central bank had a targeted financing scheme for SMEs. They reduced interest rates from about 9% to, was it 5% for a full year. I think they extended it for another year. And so we have had targeted financing schemes in Nigeria with respect to SMEs. Whether or not they've worked, that is the issue. We are, I think, we have about 39, 40 million or so SMEs, if not more. And the issue with Nigeria has always been scale. So if Zibby, Miriam, and Rotus are the only 3 SMEs in the country, then fine, you can finance them easily. But you've got millions upon millions of them that need this funding. So essentially, you need more money. I mean, that's what it comes down to. As far as the needed cash to get these SMEs afloat. So they are working for those that are able to access them, but there's so many more. And another thing you need to think about, a lot of people could start businesses because they can't find work. So some of them are just, you have SMEs that are created out of pure desperation or pure necessity. And we're on the drive time discussion yesterday talking about Benue State. Benue State has unemployment of 11%, which is pretty low compared to the rest of the country. The country as of 2020 was 33%. But Benue's underemployment, that is people who are doing jobs that are beneath their qualification, about 45% or 43, 44%. So it's an it's a food basket of the nation. You've got people who can't find jobs, so they go into farming. And so they register as being employed, but then when you look at their level of qualifications and so on. So that is a challenge, that financing of SMEs, because you've got all these people that are pouring into the field, starting small businesses, but there's so many, they're not registered, they don't have the money they need. If there was, you probably see maybe a reduction in some of these sole proprietorships at a smaller level if unemployment was improved.
Right. So what other challenges are SMEs in Nigeria facing, and possibly what has been done to address these challenges?
Well, number one, Zibby, is the power issue, cost of doing business. That's one thing that they face. So you don't have financing, you don't have funding, you're struggling to get a hold of that funding. You finally get it. If you've struggled and waited in line or had to, use your negotiations or network as far as who you know to get access to financing, and then it now gets eaten up by power costs. Look at what's happened with diesel climbing 300% in a year. And there's no power. So now you're forced to throw your little profits into buying a gen, keeping the gen fueled. And then don't forget that there's going to be, we'll see whether it happens, removal of subsidies in about a couple months or so. So the little costs, the little margins that SMEs are able to reap from their businesses is going to be swallowed up by more costs to their business. So you've got the cost factor, you've got a lack of interest rates, or rather I say lack of interest rates, lack of affordable interest rates, double-digit rates for lending, and that is tough. You can't get credit. Without credit, how are you going to finance your business? And then you've got the taxation issues, particularly in Lagos, agberos that collect money from SMEs that are trying to stay afloat. A lot of them are informal, so they're in the informal sector. They are not, formally registered. So from high cost of doing business to lack of access to affordable loans SMEs here in Nigeria, they're still facing an uphill battle.
I've got a message coming through. It's from Shola, and Shola says, 7 days of some people collecting ESTA codes and doing nothing. Can the Minister of Finance and CBN representative there tell us they don't know that they are meant to finance SMEs? Not net zero yet. People are flying across to Washington. Can't it be done via Zoom? Anyways, let's go and borrow more money from Oyibo. Okay.
That message is very on point. I like the part about the jets, because they're talking about net zero, but yeah, everybody's flying over there and adding more emissions. So that, look, that is a very good question. Although I think because of the networking nature of the spring meetings, you have a chance to, rub shoulders with the very important people, and for the media, you're able to get interviews with some really, really important persons. So, but I do get the point about using Zoom and making it virtual in order to reduce carbon emissions. So that message is very much on point.
All right. Rotus, is there any link between Nigeria's high debt burden and high unemployment?
So the link there is particularly how Nigeria's high debt burden doesn't allow the nation to be able to address unemployment, in that you need money. So it's an opportunity cost thing. The opportunity cost of servicing your high levels of debt, which I think now, as of the end of 2022, according to the Debt Management Office, is 46 trillion naira, which is, I think, about, well above, almost double our budget for the year. Well, our budget is 21 trillion. Yeah, so 42, maybe. Yeah, so I think it's double more than double our budget. So anyway, when you've got high debt servicing costs and you're spending trillions of naira to service your debt, you're not able to use that money to plug into SME financing or to plug into job creation programs and the like. So when you borrow, and the thing is this, again, to the message that we received, what all the borrowing that we've done, where has that money gone to? Is it for paying salaries to keep people in a job in the civil service? Or has it gone towards, developing the nation as far as economic policies are concerned? So that's the issue. And we have to come to grips with this unemployment thing. Again, we have not had updated figures since 2020. I mean, it's 3 years now, 3 whole years that our unemployment numbers have not been updated. I know KPMG, the consulting firm, they put out a report, so it's on a note, so saying that Nigeria's unemployment might well be over 40%, if not higher. So we need updated numbers. Without data, you don't know what you're fighting, Zibby. You're just feeling around in the dark. So, it's a tough thing. And again, all these issues we're talking about, SMEs, funding, high inflation, interest rates, it's all on the table of the next president. When you think about how badly people fight for this position because of all the perks they get, they have a lot of work to do. So we're all going to be here. We're going to have a lot to talk about, Zibby, over the next few years with this new administration. And we're going to be using the data, at least us on our own end, with the help of our listeners, our viewers, and so on, to hold this government accountable and make sure that they do what they need to do in terms of assisting, helping the country get to where it needs to be.
All right, we'll take one final comment from Benga. He says, what are we really going to learn from that conference? Nothing. What will we bring back? More loans or nothing? Okay.
Good point. He does have a point. He has a point.
Well, that's all the time for Business Express. Thanks for your messages. Thank you for listening. And thanks, Rotus. Have a brilliant day ahead.
Thank you so much.